Today we are talking about an evening routine for better sleep. Peter, what is something that you have noticed that disrupts your sleep if you stray from your typical evening routine?
It's definitely work related. I try to do something that I shouldn't do, especially if it's after 9 o'clock and I'm exposed to that work stimulus. Even if it's something that seems easy, anytime I do that, I'm ruined and I regret it, and I always ask myself why.
Yep.
But I keep doing it sometimes.
Fair enough. For me, I'm a huge NBA fan, specifically a huge Sacramento Kings fan, and usually they're losing. So what I've started to do this year, actually, and I've loved this, is I watch the games recorded in the morning. I've been doing the recorded thing for a few years because I can skip free throws, skip timeouts, I can watch the game in about an hour. But instead of doing that after the game ends, which is already kind of late, on the West Coast, if they lose, then I'm just go to bed angry. I need to take an extra half hour to calm myself down and put myself in a better mindset. So I've liked much better doing it to start the day. And even though I might sometimes start my day angry, I have more time to correct that. So that's been better for me than going to bed all high-strung from another disappointing Kings loss. So we're going to get into evening routines for better sleep. Our main objectives for today. I'm going to cover why we think everyone should have some form of a wind-down routine, a fun rundown of our own evenings, and then 3 areas of focus for you. If you remember our How to Win the Mornings chat, we're going to echo that theme a little bit. Okay? Why, what do we do, and then what do we think you should do? So, why have an evening routine? Number 1, better sleep, right? Better mood, better energy, more productivity. I'm quoting Peter from a previous talk we've done on sleep here. I don't know anyone who feels great who sleeps like crap. That one stuck with me as we did it, and I've said it to many people since, and I think it just sums it up pretty well. Better performance, right, in many different areas. Athletes with less than 8 hours of sleep a night are 70% more likely to get injured. 1 week of less than 5 hours of sleep a night decreases testosterone by 10 to 15%. 17 to 19 hours without sleep, so that's not even that long. That's if you're getting 5 to 7 hours a night. By the end of your night, you're always there. That's comparable to having a 0.05 BAC while driving, right? So everything is worse when you're not sleeping very well. Your body composition and your weight control, the hormonal response that controls satiety signals, those are all thrown off if your sleep is disrupted. And then lastly, chronic disease risk. Poor sleep is a high risk of diabetes, heart disease, dementia. So we want to sleep well, right? That's why we want to have a good evening routine. But even more so, we are creatures of habit. So any routine can be helpful if your body just knows that's what it tends to do before sleep. I know Riley and I, we used to do the New York Times games on our phone, like the Wordle and mini crossword, and although that was screen time and phone time and mentally stimulating, because of what we always did, it still knocked us out, right? And we've since removed that for better options, but even that suboptimal routine, hey, our brains correlated that with sleep. We could not stay awake to finish them. Ideally, though, the routine is designed to shift you from a sympathetic kind of fight or flight mode more towards that parasympathetic rest and recover mode. Ideally, we have pretty good control over these 2 systems, but in our current modern world, we tend to be in the fight or flight mode too long, so we need to have tools to help us bring ourselves down for sleep.
And a lot of us have experienced this when we're on vacation. We're just out of our normal rhythm, whatever that might be, and it's generally so hard to just get the same quality because it's a different environment, different schedule, whatever. So just having some sort of consistent habit is very helpful, and we want to help to explain some of the why behind some of the choices that we make, so that way you can figure out what works best for you.
Agreed. So we'll start with myself. Okay, what is my routine? And before we even get into the evening, we're actually going to start with the work day. What are some things we do to set ourselves up for success throughout the day? Okay, so for me, that looks like at the beginning of my day, morning sunlight. If you remember our morning podcast, getting sunlight in your eyes in the morning sets a timer that naturally makes you tired 14 to 16 hours later. So I'm walking my dog every day, but even before I had a study, I was just on the balcony getting 5 to 10 minutes of sunlight in my eyes in the morning to exert that natural sleep pressure later. If I deal with someone who tells me that they have trouble sleeping and they're just not tired in the evening, usually I start here. So I wanted to emphasize that one again. Other things I do, no caffeine afternoon. I'm not a daily caffeine drinker anyways, but because of that, I'm pretty caffeine sensitive. So if I do have it, it's got to be in the morning for me. Exercise for me is generally midday. So part of the luxury I have and working at a gym, but that's something that helps me not be too revved up later. We'll talk more about that later. And then overall, I try to stay in my flow state. And what I mean by that is I try not to get too revved up and too hyper-productive and stressed throughout my day, which is a big struggle for me. But taking short breaks as needed, just to, hey, let me go eat this little snack outside and just do nothing for 3 minutes, as opposed to eating it while doing something else. Putting my phone away during project time so I'm not getting disrupted with like small tasks while I'm trying to do a big task. Just things like that. Gotta keep myself very present throughout the day. Monday through Thursday, I'm coaching until 6:30 or 7 p.m. Yeah. So during my last admin time of the day, before my last class or coaching session of the day, I figure out what tasks I'm going to complete in tomorrow's admin time. And that's been a big step for me to where I'm not thinking about work as I drive home, thinking about what do I need to do tomorrow. Like I've already made a little list. That's what I'm doing tomorrow. Let me now leave work at work after this last session. On the drive home, if needed, I have silence in the car if I feel elevated, if I feel like I still am a little kind of high strung from the day, or I just coached a group of youth kids recently, and the first time I was like super excited because it's always kind of fun coaching kids for the first time, right? So if I feel that, I'm just going to have quiet on the way home to try to have that 10-minute drive be a time to calm myself down. If I'm not feeling that way, well then I'll call a family member or listen to a sports talk, something that still is non-work related, just purely for me to transition myself into the evening. Once I'm home in that early evening, my wife generally has dinner ready. First time saying my wife on these podcasts.
Fun.
Yeah. On Wednesdays, I cook. There's one night that I help her. I'm normally the breakfast guy. She's the dinner, but I give her a break on Wednesdays. And we eat between 7 and 8 p.m. because that's when I get home. Usually while eating, we sit on the floor and eat at the coffee table so I can sneak in some mobility time while we're eating. And then take a warm shower post-dinner, so kind of in that 8 to 8:30 window. And if there's any other tasks that need to be done, I'm going to do them as soon as possible after the shower. Right, so that might be wedding thank you notes for us right now, or sometimes that's just a random bill or something random that needs figuring out or whatever. I often try to put this stuff in the mornings. I have a couple mornings that I work a little bit later, but sometimes if there's something that needs to be done in the evening, I'm still going to try to get that done maybe before 9 p.m. Yeah. In the final hour now, because I'm trying to go to bed around 10:15, 10:30, by 9 p.m., we've shifted more towards quality time mode, right? So that might be a relaxing TV show, an emphasis on relaxing. I remember, Breaking Bad kept me up during college. It was a very riveting cliffhanger show, right? Try to be more of a relaxing, comforting, watching New Girl right now. Great, relaxing, easy watching show. We're big game players, so might be playing a board game or a card game. Last night we were playing this kind of word-based card game. And my phone is away. Usually I try to, now at this point, have my phone in the back room just to not be disrupted by little things. Also because I maybe don't want to figure out the score of the Kings game that I'm going to watch in the morning. That's been another helpful thing with watching Kings games in the mornings. So just something more down-regulating. Usually we have a small portion treat at this time of the night. It might be frozen fruit or popcorn. Again, something that might be suboptimal, right? But that's just part of our evening routine. And it's almost like part of our wind-down process is some of that little kind of end-the-day treat, but something that's fairly healthy. And during this time, I spend at least 5 minutes on the floor doing some sort of mobility or soft tissue work. One, because that has benefits for me of my training the next day. I feel a little bit better going into it. But also the breath work that I'm naturally doing during this time, breathing, is a great way to talk to your nervous system to say, hey, it's time to calm down now. Slow nasal inhales, nice relaxed exhales. I'm taking Stubby out for his last break between 9:30 and 10 p.m. I'm checking some things off my habit tracker that I do in the evening. I have some things I check off in the morning, some things I check off in the evening. Did I do that nighttime mobility? Did I floss again at night? Did I take my supplements for the day? And then I'm in bed by 10:15 or 10:30 p.m. Sometimes I'm ready to be out like a light. Other times I might feel like I need a little more of a come down, so I'll generally read with a dim yellow book light so that the room is dark overall. And within 5 to 10 pages, usually my eyelids are getting pretty heavy. Put the book down, and I couldn't tell you what happens 60 seconds later. So that is my wind down routine that works pretty well for me.
So I was going to say a couple questions. So
fire away.
If you, let's say a year ago,
yeah,
what's some of the biggest changes you've made from a year ago to today?
So there's some similarities. A lot of the stuff, even the last 3 to 6 months, is attacking that midday portion more and is not trying to get home so elevated. I just noticed I was just struggling a lot to not feel so hyper productive, and sometimes I get home I'd be stuck in this mode of, I had a good day, I got a lot of stuff done, what else can I get done before I go to bed, and just staying too elevated for too long. So that's probably the biggest change recently. Some of the other things I would say is just emphasizing the soft tissue work at night. Nice. And that was something I used to do sporadically but not necessarily daily, and that's felt better physically as well as mentally. And then I mentioned the New York Times app. That's probably been a little over a year, but we used to do that, less screen time in the evenings. So this has been overall a big area of focus for me, probably above any other area of my health in the last year.
All right. And then along those lines, is there anything looking at your schedule now, is there anything that like, hey, I would like to try to change this or do this a little bit differently over the next, say, 6 months to a year?
I wouldn't say that, because right now it's working really well. But if I did have trouble, some things I think that I could do even better is like if that nighttime snack, like eating close to bed, can be something that disrupts sleep. So I could address that if I started to have trouble again. It doesn't seem to be bothering me, but I could. We could also be a little bit better about our sleep environment. We generally have most of the lights on still. They're dim, yellower lights, but like if we needed to have more lights turned off in the evenings just to have less artificial light overhead. That's something that I think I could do even a bit better about. Or in the summer, we have our window open to have a fan blowing in air. Like I could block out the light that seeps in from the street light better. Things like that. The sleep environment could still be improved if needed.
Nice. It's good. Solid.
Good questions. Yeah. Let's flip over to you.
All right. So yeah, same thing as Kyle started here with the work day. And my goal is what can I do in the morning to set myself up for success throughout the day. So our morning routine, you can refer to that. But caffeine wise, I probably have it a little bit more as I've gotten older. And I found it just helps with my productivity. So I just try to keep the caffeine minimal, especially if it's after 12. Sometimes I will still have a little bit, but not going too much. The morning sunlight, the movement, whenever I can, I love just riding the bike in the morning coming. It just feels good, sets my mind right. I'm not listening to anything. I'm just exposed to the environment I'm around. There's no traffic. It's just great. Try to do my morning devotion, and gratitude is a big part of success in my life. So starting to end the day with gratitude is something that I really, really worked hard on, because I know it just sets my mind right into the mood and position that I want to be in. Most of my workouts, they're generally all over the place, but I've been trying to keep a little bit more continuity with when I'm, training with different staff members and different things that I do, kind of in that 11 to 4 window. From a strength power perspective, most of your better numbers and stuff will tend to be in that kind of mid to late afternoon. So I do kind of like that, but sometimes some caffeine can be helpful. And when it starts getting late like that, it kind of throws me off. And having something to kind of provide a nice stimulus in the day, I think helps me to have more productivity in the afternoon and to the early evening. So I appreciate that. Something that as I've gotten older and I think just a lot on my brain, I want to minimize the odds of me having to get up and pee in the middle of the night, because if I do, it's very hard to turn my brain back off. When I can have my great evening routine, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I wake up, I'm screwed a lot of times. So for me, I like to front load my liquid intake. Like within the first hour, I have probably a third of my total water intake that I might have through the day. So my kind of thing now is around 5 o'clock or so after, I try to have as little bit of liquid as possible, so that way I can get as much as I can out of my system before bed.
I was preparing for this last night, and Riley saw that Peter, no liquid intake after 5. She's like, Peter's insane. I was defending you. I was like, no, he drinks a lot early in the day. He's not like thirsty and restricting himself. It's like he sets himself up so he's hydrated. So I was defending you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That'd be fun. Actually, I didn't get to share this with my wife, so that'd have been fun to her to see yours. And just even along those lines too, like I probably go to the bathroom another 3 times after 5 o'clock, because my body is just getting rid of all that I have put in. And if I take a little bit of here and there, but I do know too, when I eat my dinner, if I don't have really water much with it, I tend to digest it much better. And sometimes, because I haven't done great during the day with my food, sometimes at night I'm really hungry. So I'm like, oh man, I want to maximize this. So
perfect.
All right, moving on.
Perfect.
So for me, like the work mode, I have a hard time turning off. It's just me and a lot of desires that I have for myself and for others that I'm around with. So I'm trying to get better at cutting it off in that 6 to 6:30 window, depending on what I have with regards to kids from practice or what I might be doing for my wife, whatever. But my main goal that I'm trying to do now is when I'm done at a work mode, have a little bit of intentional time to just turn off that and turn on husband, dad, whatever it is that I'm transitioning to. When I just run one right into the other and I don't have that, I am not present and I do a poor job. And some people have been helpful at making me a little more aware of that. So that's something that's probably in the past year, that's one of the things that I've really tried to be better, is just making that transition. And I've even sometimes gotten out of my car and walked around the block because I am not quite there yet before I walk in the doors. I'd rather be 3-5 minutes late and be there and present than coming in and half out. And then, yeah, like I said, feast. A lot of times I am hungry at night. Again, I need to do better during the day. But something we like to try to do is sometimes we'll say, like, what are you grateful for? What's a highlight of the day? What were something you were challenged? Or a rose and a thorn is something my kids have used too. What's your rose? What's your thorn? So that's kind of fun, but just trying to strike out some of that conversation and get the kids to talk a little bit and just having intentional time together. I know it won't be like this forever. So the more that we can create this and maintain this as long as possible, something that's really important to us, because there's really no other meals Monday through Friday that we ever get a chance to have together. Yeah. And so that's kind of in that 6:37 window. My wife is a great cook. She's really good at prepping, and I have my buckets that I like to eat, and she is a really good job at making those buckets taste good. When I'm in charge of dinner, it's a very different feel and look, because it just literally looks like buckets with when you're eating there. And so it's kind of a fun joke in our house. And then after that, there's cleaning up from dinner. There's some various chores and things maybe that I didn't get done, or stuff that I wanted to get done at the house. I really like to spend time outside as the sun is going down. I think it's important. I'll a lot of times play with my son. We might do some sort of random sport. It's kind of our one-on-one time. That's the time that my wife is with my daughter, and she's taking a shower, and we'll read together. So then I try to spend some one-on-one time with him, and I know the kids really appreciate that. And then I try to shut it off when my son needs to get ready, getting ready for the shower and moving on. And then I can go up and just spend a couple of minutes with my daughter after that she's had her time with her mom and doing that stuff. And I'll try to make her giggle, make her laugh, do something silly. And then after that, just to help encourage my son, he can take forever sometimes at night. So, hey, you get in the shower, I'm gonna shave or brush, whatever, and I'm coming in right after you. So just trying to encourage him to get his butt moving. And then from there, having a little bit more one-on time with him. We'll read together, try to have just a couple minutes of some prayer too. Just, again, the importance of that. And then same thing, finding something that he's grateful for from the day.
Love it.
And then from there, and this is one of those things that I want to get out of my routine, but I just haven't figured out a way to do it yet. But there's a lot of stuff that I've just put off, that I just haven't done. I didn't have time. And then when I come home, I used to kind of mix this into my evening routine, but it sucked that way. So phone is away for when I first get home, and then by here I usually pull it back out and try to catch up to those things that I didn't get done, and or write stuff down. Oh shoot, I didn't do that. I need to make sure I get this done for tomorrow. So this is my little window that I try to keep it into there. And then from that point, my wife is usually in hey, don't talk to me, let me have my alone time. So that's one reason why I'll do that, and try to be in another room from where she's at. And then, and in this window too, I try to turn off those overhead lights. I put my phone into red light mode, get my clothes out in the morning, since I usually will get up and be gone before she gets up, just so I'm making the least amount of noise as possible and don't disrupt her sleep. And then from there, again, just to spend a little bit of time with my wife. She doesn't, like I said, at night, she's pretty checked out. Like I said, this is not the time to bring up some, hey, let's talk about our budget. Why did you buy this? Like I've had, sometimes things will come up because in my little thing that I do from 8:45 to 9:15, when I'm checking and doing this and that, it's been a challenge, because I'm like, I want to address this now. But I'm trying to do much better at just writing it down. So, trying to be better about that. But just a little bit of an intentional kind of connection time, and going from there, then I can head back down to the kitchen and get my stuff ready for that next day. I like taking magnesia at night. I try to, again, really, really minimize any kind of liquid that I take. I like to unplug the Wi-Fi, floss, brush, do all those kind of basic things. Ideally here, turn the phone into airplane, put my alarm on and put it away. And then when I do this, my kind of little body scan, okay, where am I feeling stiff? What hurts? I feel like I can't be calm. My heart rate's a little too elevated, so I might just do some intentional breath work, but just having a little window just to do that. And then from there, we have a little red light unit that I've really liked. So you might put it on my back, I might put it on my knee, something that might be bothering me, and then just have a book where I'm reading, and the only light I'm using is just that red light from that. And then if I do a good job with that, I find that, again, the eyelids get kind of heavy. I start getting fatigued, trying not to listen to anything anymore too at this point. And then it's into bed. I've been a mouth taper for who knows how many years, just to try to make myself be fully nasal breath. My wife, it's actually kind of a fun anecdote, is if I do any work or anything later at night, my wife will commonly tell me that I snore, because I am not in a pure parasympathetic state, regardless if I mouth tape or not. But other nights, hey, did I snore last night? No. And I know at times when my evening routine is good, she tells me no. When my evening routine sucks, it's a common, like, oh man, I pushed you 5 times last night, couldn't get you to stop.
That's a good indicator.
Yeah. So, and then again, I like to end the day with a little bit of gratitude. What's something I can be grateful for and appreciative from something for that day? And it just tends to set my mindset well for good rest.
Cool. Love it. So it's a good rundown. So I'll ask you the same questions. What have you changed in the last year? What have you improved? And then what could still be improved?
So just working less at night. Again, some of that hyperproductivity, trying to do better, knowing that some of that stuff is probably not really going to move the needle as much as sometimes I think it is, but just being better at writing it down. That's something I've definitely improved. The red light is a newer thing for me, and I have found I keep talking about the benefits to other people. If I could do a sauna before bed, like an hour before bed, I'd absolutely love that. But right now it just doesn't fit into that evening routine to be able to get away to do that. And then moving forward, I really would love to get rid of that phone time around 9 o'clock at night and having that as more of an end of a work day as opposed to end of the day stuff. Yeah. That's something that I think I have a big area of improvement I can do there. And then eventually getting that bedtime even to an earlier spot would be helpful for me, especially because sometimes I'm up 5:36, and so I'm not getting probably the full amount of rest that my body really needs. So that's what I'm hoping to move more into the future.
Cool. Well, on a good trajectory, it sounds like. All right. So you've heard my routine, you've heard Peter's routine, and maybe you just want to be a carbon copy of one of those, but I don't think that's going to work very well for you, right? We're all unique. We all have our own lives, our own environments, right? So what are the big themes that we kind of want to pull from our routines just as examples, right? But what are the big concepts? We're going to give you 3 big areas of focus. Number 1, don't go into the evening too ramped up to begin with, right? So if you're feeling like you're pulling all the different tricks to try to calm yourself down and it's not working, hey, maybe can we arrive there in a calmer state to begin with? So have a caffeine time cutoff is big, right? People generally are aware of that, but even like diet sodas. Remember, there was a time where my wife and I had a pack of Diet Cokes in the house because she liked that as an occasional treat with dinner or whatever. But then all the time it was 10:30 and she's like, hey, I want to talk. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to sleep. So just be aware of your caffeine intake for sure. Keep hard exercise as far from bedtime as your schedule allows, right? So both of us touched on the fact that we work out midday. The study we have linked here that we'll put in the notes was an awesome study showing a dose-response relationship to your exercise timing. For those who exercise 8 hours or more from bed, more intense exercise led to greater sleep. That stimulus in the day helped the body be really tired later. As that exercise got closer to sleep, intense exercise at night might have a disruption of delayed sleep onset or not as good quality of sleep. So depending on your lifestyle and your day, the evening might be your only option. And if so, that's okay, right? I don't think it's any secret that we would tell you the benefits of exercise outweigh the cost here. But it's just something to have in mind. If you're having trouble with sleep and you're really revving yourself up big time at night, and you notice that correlation there, is there a way you can move that exercise to a different time of the day? Or at least know that, okay, maybe I'm only going to have really intense exercise once or twice in the evening, and my other evenings will be more moderate workouts, etc.
Yeah, and if you do have to train at night, like I said, that's okay.
Yeah.
At our gym, our last class is usually in at 7 or 7:30, and I'm really trying hard not to let anything happen after that, even though a lot of people have asked for it, just so that way we can let, the staff get home, let the clients get home, and maybe they just do some 5 minutes of just really intentional breath work to start that parasympathetic shift as quickly as possible, so that way within 3 to 4 hours they're in a position to be able to sleep. But yeah, it's just what it is, and that's okay. Don't feel like just because you guys can train at 2 o'clock. I wish I could too, you know, and it's like, no, it's okay.
Yeah,
you know?
You're likely you're not going to be perfect with all the things we're about to run through here. So it's okay if you know you have a couple that you could improve upon. Well, maybe you should be better on the other areas, right? So. Other things, instill mental breaks in your day to get out of that fight or flight mode. Again, I mentioned that's been a big payoff for me too, but just little 5-minute breaks, taking a walk on your lunch break. Can you just have these moments where you don't just ramp up all the way throughout the day so you don't have this big mountain to come down when it is time to start your evening routine?
Yeah, a short little walk midday in the solar sun for 5-10 minutes post lunch is just such a great thing to do.
Many benefits. Yeah. So that's our first area of focus. Don't go into the evening too ramped up to begin with. And then let's now go over the things that we would want to either remove from the evening, either lessen how much you're doing these things, or get them further from bedtime. So I'm going to shout out intake things first. Alcohol, number 1. There are times, right, where you might be having some alcohol intake, but that's a big disruptor of sleep. And so if you're someone who is I'm going to have a few drinks on the weekend or whatever. That you're going to pay up the price for that with your sleep quality. But if you're someone who has 1 or 2 drinks every single night and you're having trouble with sleep, this could be something to address for you. I'm going to shout caffeine out again. Food as well. Your body, it takes energy to digest food. That can be something that disrupts sleep. Some people are more sensitive to that than others, but getting your last food intake further from your bedtime could be helpful. And then water intake, like Peter mentioned, so you're not getting up to pee in the middle of the night. Artificial light. If you can remove or lessen that in the evening, that would be great, especially overhead light, because that hits the portion of your retina that is meant to perceive the sunlight. So if at night, you're not going to have your house be pitch black during your evening routine, but if your lights could be like lower, dimmer lamps, or candlelight would be even more ideal, so that your body doesn't get disrupted, it doesn't have its circadian rhythm get disrupted by that artificial overhead light. And then screens, both because they're bright and stimulating, but also because the content can be stimulating, right? So social media might feel like, oh, this is my me time, but studies show that is a stimulating activity, even if you think of it as your vegging activity. And then just echoing that, stimulating behavior in general. So either removing work from your evening, removing dramatic cliffhanger type entertainment, and social media, and all those things that are just get your body a little more revved up as opposed to calming it back down. Yeah. And our last area of focus are things that, if we're removing or lessening the previous category, now let's use these things. Let's use these following wind down tools. These are your superpowers, right? So mindfulness, meditation, again, turn off the mind a little bit and settle into a more relaxing state. Doing physical body scan type work, mobility, soft tissue work, sitting on the floor in the evening, just a huge proponent of that, just to noodle around a little bit. Again, has physiological benefits, but also can help you feel much more relaxed and ready for rest. Warm shower, bath, or sauna, as Peter mentioned, something that he'd love to have in his routine. Being exposed to warm water in the evening, so for example, with your warm shower, counterintuitively, your body cools itself down afterwards, and your body needs to cool itself down to enter sleep, right? So be exposing yourself to a warm environment before sleep to kickstart that cooling process can be very helpful. And then non-screen time relaxation. So can you have something else in the evening besides your phone that you wind down with? So is that reading? Is that doing puzzles or whatever the case may be? What else can you do in that kind of final stretch of your day? Okay. So again, in summary, have a routine, tinker, mess around, see what works for you, and then just have those 3 main areas of focus. Okay, how can I go into this evening without being too revved up? What do I need to remove or reduce? And then what could I add or replace those things with that wind me down? Right? So that's the way I want you to have that framework in your mind. What do I need to do midday? What do I need to take away? What do I need to add? And just mess around until you find a routine that works well for you.
Yeah, and some of you guys may not even have like a set routine, but maybe do an audit. What are the days that I sleep really well? What did I do the day before? And other days when I don't. Same idea, to just start to figure out, again, what allows you to get into that Zen place so you can wake up and feel refreshed and ready to attack the day.
Yeah. We didn't form those 9 or 10 point routines overnight. I started with one habit. Okay, I'm just gonna do some tissue work. I'm gonna do some foam rolling before bed. Oh, I knock out great when I do that. I don't even know what else I do. It doesn't matter. I foam roll and I sleep. It's great. Just start small and just mess around. It's going to evolve over time, but as long as it works for you, it works for you.
All right. Go pick something and go.
Cool. Catch you next time.